Angel Figueroa. I am the co-founder and Chief Executive Officer and Chief Operational Officer here at Ivy Charter School.
Can you tell us a little bit about school choice? School Choice Week. I mean, we know it has a little bit of a long history. It's kind of a new thing, but can you give us some of the background to what school choice is?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I tend to believe that school choice is an everyday thing, right? It's how we as educators and more importantly, learners and or students go about living their life every single day in our country here in the United States of America. The mere fact that it's only depicted to one specific week, while it's exciting at a moment to celebrate, I think it's more important to understand that school choice is an everyday thing, because ultimately school choice equates to your constitutional choice. And that is a choice that we live in a great country where democracy exists and where education is a constitutional right for every single young person that lives in our country. Therefore, if a parent chooses to put their child in a certain school, that is their choice. But unfortunately, we tend to really confine it to 1 week to bring national attention from a policy point of view, from an advocacy point of view. That's why when there's school choice events, we should be fired up, having exciting rallies, at times having exciting debates about the matter at hand, so that people don't forget why school choice is very relevant. So in my point of view, it really is the jumpstart of many more things to come following not just this 1 week.
Of course, we understand what school choice is, but why is school choice something that Ivy Charter School really supports in comparison to traditional public schools?
Well, from day one, recognizing that we are the only bricks and mortar charter school in the county of Berks. Number two, beknownst to us, even way before we got on the radar of the National School Choice Organization or movement, we were always celebrating school choice, right? By way of advocacy, by way of designing our own posters, by way of designing our own letters of campaign. I think the whole school choice movement and the posters that we see throughout the building, it really got on our radar in year 3 or year 4. That's why you'll see people wearing, the scarves and the posters. But we did it very grassroots, quite frankly. We were celebrating school choice, but known to us, in moments that we saw despair right in front of us, in moments that the system was trying to shut us down, in moments where parents would come to us and say, listen, the local school district, they're not giving me my child transcript. So every moment that we encounter, we use it as a moment to promote school choice.
How is school choice something that they definitely need to be concerned about and continually be active?
So let me just start off by saying, again, I want to separate the hype and the promotional piece of school choice, right? And it's a piece where organizers really capture that moment or that week to really elevate their platform. For me, school choice should be embedded in your soul. It's an everyday, every minute thing. It's because you believe as a person that you live in the best country in the world, and because of that, you have the constitutional right to choose where you want to go to school. And in this case, to help your parents make a choice to send you to Ivy Charter School in this case. So I would say to students and to our learners that it is ultimately has to become a part of your DNA, a part of your fabric, a part of saying, I'm going to exercise my right, and that is to choose where I believe I'm going to get the best education. And in this case, in Reading, Pennsylvania, fortunately, we only have one charter school. I hope that someday we'll have 5 charter schools in specific areas, right? But we got to deal with our reality, because we're constantly being harassed, we're constantly being bullied, and we're being bullied because the system, the authorities, the politicians, they're trying to strip away the choice that every single learner, every single parent has. And that to me is unconstitutional. So it has to become a way of living. And I think that, I know that if learners and adults truly believe that, they will radically shift how they start to exercise their rights in our country, right? They would become true advocates. Because when you become a true advocate, you start to really understand your rights as a person that's walking in our country, regardless if you're a U.S. citizen or not. So, the takeaway for our students is to use this week as a platform to really decipher what choice really means to me. When you look at third world countries and you look at individuals 16 years old that perhaps are in a third world country that don't have the choice of saying, I want to go to that school. Whereas here in Reading, Pennsylvania, you have that choice of coming to Ivy, charter school, and or any other school for that matter. But unfortunately, the system creates so many boundaries and bureaucracies that they sometimes make it very hard for parents to pick and choose where they want to put their child into schools.
Okay. So can you shed some light on what policies and social change has actually taken place in order to grant us this choice? And what policies and social change do we need to keep our school open and alive, to keep school choice open and alive for Reading, Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. I mean, when you, just to cite two that come right to my head, the Little Rock Nine. These were 9 individuals that fought for equality and wanting to obtain educational equality for them. And the barriers that they broke were beyond the educational system. It was about 9 African Americans, 9 people of color that wanted to exercise their freedom by going to a specific school. And that led to national change. It led to national mobility as it relates to advocacy. So that's just one example. When you think of Brown versus the Board of Education, another historical, momentous effort that was led by specific attorneys for a specific cause that has opened up the doors for many, many individuals of color in our country. And to think that this wasn't so long ago, you would have thought that those things would have happened in the 1800s or the early 1900s. Unfortunately, they happened roughly about 30 to 40 years ago, sadly, and we're still fighting for school choice. So it's important that our young people understand that at the end of the day, there is a much larger system that's out there that's trying to suppress growth. I've said this many times. If you want to continue to see a impoverished community, if you want to continue to see a poor mindset, eliminate equitable education. Okay, and that's the case with the zip code that's relevant to our community, which is 19601. You have to start wondering, why is it that they want to continue to give us the most poorest quality education in the state of Pennsylvania? Why? Because it's individuals that look just like you and I. And again, I'm not suggesting that this is an excuse, but the fact is, it's a reality, right? How is it that 10 minutes from here, you go to some of the best schools in the state of Pennsylvania? So, for me, apart from citing historical facts, I believe that we at IU Charter School, our learners, our parents, are the new Brown versus Board of Education. We're living this every single day. We've expended more than $500,000 in trying to fight for the rights of our students every single day. And while I'm not called Brown, but the bottom line is, okay, we're fighting a fight that constitutes, again, their right to pick and choose where they want to go to school. And that's why we've been in this legal posture for the last 5 years, quite frankly. Because they know that our kids, if they were afforded the same opportunities with the same resources, our kids will be 10 times better off than what they are today.
I find myself having to express often to my students, because they often point these things out. They point out schools like Muhlenberg and Exeter, and they wonder why the schools here in Reading don't have as much resources as these other schools do that are literally just, as you said, like 10, 15 minutes away. I think the question is, why? Why is that the case? And what is it that we can actually actively do every day to make that change?
Yeah. So we don't have a whole hour to really explicitly go line by line on why is that the case. but I will leave that question on the shelf because it's important for all of us to leave this assembly today answering that question. Why is that the case? And what am I going to do starting Monday? Matter of fact, what am I going to start doing today to radically answer that question and do something about it, right? I have my own point of views on why is that the case. And it's far away from the race car, to be very clear, okay? However, it is a contributing factor to that reality. To follow up on what can we do, right? We have to shift the paradigm. We have to shift the mindset of our community. We have to start to believe that we can be excellent, right? We can achieve greatness, right? And it's not until we start to really shift that paradigm within ourselves as individuals, right? Starting with me as a person, then my parents, then my cousins, then my uncles, then we will start to see some progress occur. See, change doesn't happen overnight. It has to be generational, right? And I remember one time I had a conversation with a very affluent Jewish man, attorney, successful. And I said to this Jewish man, I said, you know, why is it that you're so interested in helping my community? And he looked at me, he said, I'm so interested because your community is where my community were 3 generations ago. Think about that for a second. 3 generations. We're talking about 3 lifetimes. And for that second, I was angry. I got emotional. I was angry at my dad's dad, thinking, man, I got kids. I'm not going to let my kids wait 3 generations for us to amount to the success that this man has gotten to. So what did I do? It was that moment that I shifted my own mindset. I started realizing that self-accountability is what was that question. I need to hold myself accountable. So the question is, what are you doing to hold yourself accountable to be better? It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to cast blame. What's much more challenging is for you to look within yourself and say, I'm going to make this happen today for me. Because if I start to chisel away the realities of what people think I am and start to become better, it becomes contagious. Then my brothers are going to want to do it. My cousins are going to want to do it. And that's how you start to shift the paradigm. And is it hard? Absolutely. You know, it requires a lot of patience, but it also requires being relentless, right? Looking at adversity in the face, saying, I'm going to beat you today. I'm going to do everything possible with my mind and my heart to beat you today because you ain't going to break me down. So, you know, I think that for the most part, it is possible. It is doable. You know, who were to think that 9 years ago when I started this journey, I'd be sitting here with you conducting this interview, you know, having 400 plus students, 50 plus employees. And that poses a threat to the system, right? But it keeps me motivated, it keeps me grounded, and wanting to do it every single day better and better and better.
I know I said that was probably my last question, but I since you talked about keeping pretty much the hope and dream alive and continually fighting for that. What is your hope and dream for this school? If you can paint this picture of the way you've seen this school turning out to be for the students of Reading, Pennsylvania. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And again, I want to be very transparent and realistic. And I won't jump into sort of what I hope, and desire for our learners to become, not so much the building, right? What I hope that our learners will become are the next change agent, the next trendsetters of our society, right? That they're the ones that will ultimately become the decision makers of our country, that they're the ones that will become the decision makers of our economy, that they're the ones that will become the faces of our educational system. That's why we do what we do every single day here at Ivy Charter School. Speaking of dreams, I didn't have a dream last night. And there are many nights that I don't have dreams. So this is not a fairy tale. This is reality. So I would rather use the term vision, right? My vision for our learners is to really create opportunities for them to become the hope that I hope they will become in the future. You know, that's the vision that I have, and that's what keeps me going every day, because not only do I see it, I feel it, and it gives me the opportunities, and it allows me to create strategies on how do I create those action plans to make those students the future educators, the future lawyers, the future, broadcasters. That's what I want to see, and I actually touch it. I could feel it. I could feel it in my bones, and I think, not that I think I know, that's where my relentlessness comes from, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, right? We've only been open for 8 years. But I think if we have this conversation 20 years from now, and we look back, and we're able to say, you know what? We have someone on CNN now. We have someone who's a U.S. congressional person. We have someone who is running a Fortune 500 company, right? That's my hope, and that's our vision. And that's why iLead has to continue to exist for the foreseeable future.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us here at our School Choice Week assembly. Can you have any last words that you want to say to the students here? You can look right into the camera if you like, brother.
Absolutely. So, yeah, while we're celebrating school choice, keep in mind that today's assembly is the celebration for what should happen in your life tomorrow, the next day, and the day beyond. You know, I've said this many times, iLead Charter School is not a perfect place, and it was never meant to be the perfect place. Nevertheless, it is the place where we create real changes for individuals if you want to make that change. You know, I would encourage you, I would implore you that living to these standards of understanding choice is not just about education. It's about you choosing who you want to be every single day in your life. So as we celebrate today, and I do apologize for not being here, I want to encourage you to go out, get fired up, understand that this is your constitutional right, and you should never ever let no one take that away from you, and that's your ability of choosing who you want to become in the future.